Hello everyone, welcome along. It's a new week of Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. It's the number one tennis betting podcast and YouTube show brought to you in association with Bet Rivers, your hometown sportsbook. I'm Nigel Seeley. Joining me as usual on a Sunday, a little bit later than usual, is our senior ATP Tour handicapper. It is Sean Calvert. Now Sean, you've had a bit of a day already, haven't you, mate? How you doing?
I'm all right, thanks. Yeah, just had a chaotic under-11s football match, which went overly long by about 40 minutes. It was a weird one. The ref was she must have been about 75, 80 years of age, I think, and apparently she was the representative from the FA, so she was doing everything like literally by the book. You know, measuring the pitch, checking the ball, she was hammering the little pegs into the nets. She checked every player's studs, like before the match, like they made them all line up, checked everyone's studs. It took forever. Apparently that's how you're supposed to do it, but normally in under-11s football, they get the referees, normally whoever's around, and the linesman is one of the parents, which it still was today. But yeah, she took forever doing all this stuff, so it didn't kick off till late. And she played a load of injury time, and then I've literally just got back in the house now. So, and it was 0-0. it was a 0-0.
How old are they?
Wasn't even a good 0-0. Sorry, mate. They're under 11s. Under 11s. Lagan plays a year up.
And 0-0.
Well, the girls.
I've ever seen an under 11 game for whoever finished 0-0.
I have. They were playing a girls' team, and the girls are allowed to play a year older than their age. So the girls were under 12s. Right. And Lagan plays up a year, so he should be playing under 10s, but he plays under 11s for complicated reasons, which no one's interested in. So the girls were like 2 or 3 years older than him, and they're quite big, and it was just a scrap. There was no quality football being played, that's for sure. Yeah, so that's my day so far. Apart from looking at all these odds, of course.
I'm supposed to be in Finland as we're recording this.
I wonder why you were at home.
I haven't been very well. I was I was very, very ill on Friday. I had an awful cold and virus. And I was violently sick, and I made my way to the airport and just had to turn around because I was just too ill. So I felt very disappointed. Son who wanted to go to the football.
Was Harry with you at the time?
Yeah. So he's not very. No, I was in a bad way. It was in a bad way. But anyway,
probably COVID or something.
Days. Yeah, well, yeah, I think. Anyway, enough about that. I'm back, and we're ready and raring to go. The only thing on a positive, and the only positive I can take from this week coming in, is that finally we're back on the European tour. Where we know a little bit more about the scheduling. We know a little bit more about the times. We can schedule 3 podcasts and shows a week when we know really what we're doing. And
hopefully,
I'm glad to put to bed the far eastern side of the tour. Really, it's I'm a bit unlucky with Machac. We did say before when I spoke to you before that if you win the first set, you might have a hedging position. Did you do any hedging?
A little bit. I mean, he got down to about 5-4, 2.25 plus 125. In play, so little hedge there, but I'm not a big hedger. After the first set, I mean, Djokovic wasn't good in the first set at all, really. I mean, Machac kind of fell over the line to win that set, and then he just kind of backed off a bit. For me, Machac, he didn't really put his foot down. He wasn't really, there was no intent there. He was sort of hanging around, and so many times I know he's only 19. I don't want to criticise him because he's a 19-year-old lad, he's not got the experience of playing these huge matches like Djokovic has. But there's so many times he could have come into the net, finished points off. Just so many players, I've said so many times, they just don't do it because they're not comfortable doing it. You always end up losing a point. And I'm there yelling at the TV, come in. I must have said that so many times over the years. My neighbours must wonder what I'm talking about. I'm constantly shouting, come in, all the time, and they never listen to me. So yeah, a little bit annoying because I think that was a good bet, Machac 33-1. But sometimes they just fall at the final hurdle. That's life, unfortunately.
Yeah, Jannik Sinner went on to win another tournament a year to sort of keep his number one tag going. He's the man to beat for next year, and it's all sort of coming to an end at the moment, isn't it? The tennis season. We've got 3 tournaments this week. It's their 250 events, and like I say, they are back to some sort of normal times for us, and it's nice to be able to schedule these and have them on, but they're not really the greatest of quality. Finally, before we pass on what's happened in the past, Rafael Nadal obviously announcing his retirement.
Yes.
big news, and it happened just after we recorded the podcast. I think it was on Thursday. It's the end of an era now, isn't it? We've only got Novak Djokovic left of the Fab Four, really. So it's
almost
a bit strange now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, no real surprise, Rafa. We've said last few months, last sort of 6 months, he's just not able to do the things that he would like to be able to do, physically. So, once that time comes, that's it. Typically understated kind of farewell, wasn't it? Just a little Twitter post. I did see that on Twitter, incidentally. Don't see anything else, but
yeah.
I think about 4 million people retweeted it, so I couldn't really miss that. But end of an era. But we move on.
Yep, and we move on this week, and we've got 3 tournaments. We've got to quickly get through. We've got some matches, we've got some outrights. We've got to go through the brackets as well of the 3 tournaments this week, and we're going to start off with one in Kazakhstan. It's the Almaty Open. It's a 32-player event. The top 4 seeds are through to the last 16. They've got buys through. Those 4 seeds are Francis Tiafoe, the number 1 seed, Karin Khachanov, number 3 seed, Cerundolo, and Tabilo. So that really shows you the quality of this field. It's not really the best quality of field. I suppose motivation, who's up for the challenge this year, this time of the year. It's been a long season. We saw people getting ratty last week in the tournament, having to go at umpires. It's got that sort of edge about it now. Everyone's really ready to ease up. So it's just going to look. It's going to be hard, I think, to try to go the value in this draw. But it's quite competitive. It's $5 to field. But before we go on to the bracket and look at the prices with Bet Rivers, what's the stats here in Kazakhstan?
Well, this is a new tournament, basically. It's not a new tournament as far as the ATP Tour is concerned. It was played. It's just moved venues. It was in Astana or Nur Sultan, whatever you want to call it. And now it's moved quite a long way south to Almaty. So it's a new tournament. We don't know the conditions, but we know that there's 755 meters of altitude at the Almaty Arena. So the balls should fly a little bit. We don't know what the surface is. We know it's indoor hardcourt, but we don't specifically know because the ATP are not telling us. And I can assure you that the Kazakhstan website is not the most revealing as far as information is concerned. Last year, when it was played in Astana, they played it on a green set hardcourt with Wilson balls, but that may not be the case in this totally different venue many miles away. What we can say, last year there were 83% holds of serve and 73.5% first serve points won, and 54% tie-break matches. That's quite quick if you take it on that 1 year. And that was only at 350 metres of altitude. So if we're assuming it's the same surface and the same balls, it's got double the altitude. So as far as the conditions are concerned, it's just a guess, but I would assume that it's going to be on the quicker side and the balls are going to fly a bit.
Yeah, if we look at some of the previous winners, Mannarino won it. Obviously, it's at a different venue, but Mannarino won it. Novak Djokovic won it. Kwon's won it. And Millman have won it in the last 4 episodes of this tournament. Let's have a look at the draw. Really quite hard to find some real big servers. I mean, you've got Cerundolo and Tabilo at the bottom half of the draw, so you would definitely be looking to oppose them. In the top half, you have Tiafoe and Khachanov. Long year for Tiafoe. Khachanov hasn't been playing well. I know he's been a pick for us in a couple of occasions, but not playing the greatest. If we look at the draw, Tiafoe is the number 1 seed, as I said. In that top half, he's scheduled to play the defending champion Mannarino in the quarterfinals. Then we have Khachanov, the number 3 seed. Machac is his opponent in the top half of the draw if it goes to seedings. Zhang will play Cerundolo, and Marijan will play Tabilo. There are some other players around who are more than capable on this surface. These are the odds from Bet Rivers. Machac is $5. Francis Tiafoe is plus 550. Karin Khachanov is 6. Cerundolo 8. Safin 8. Zhang 9. Tabilo 11. Marijan 18. And then go into some big prices. Vukic 22 and Mannarino 22. Koric 22. And some bigger prices on some of the lesser known players. Doesn't look to me that if you are looking at the value and if it's going to be quick, the bottom half is definitely the place to be looking for some value. I would suggest rather than that top half.
I'm going to do things slightly differently this week as far as Almaty is concerned. I'm actually going to wait for a day or so here. The reason being that there's a lot of good qualifiers in this draw, in the quali draw. So some of the players in the qualies are better than the ones in the main draw. Which obviously suggests that it's worth waiting to see who comes through and where they get placed. Because you've got the likes of Yun Chao Kete Bu, who's been playing amazingly well on the Asian swing. You got Karatsev, who in quick conditions, if he's back to form, is always dangerous. Dan Evans is in there as well. Kachmazov is in there, who made the latter stages of this tournament when it was played in Astana, who also played really well in Chengdu in quick conditions. He's dangerous on these sort of surfaces. And Kukushkin, who obviously is a home player, he's going to be possibly a factor as well. So there's 5 names there that could well make a difference when you're looking at picking a winner of this tournament, because they're obviously going to be slotted into this draw. We don't know where, and we don't know which ones of those are going to come through. So I'm actually going to look at this on Tuesday's show, hopefully, because I think we'll have the time to do that. I think if you're picking now, and you're, for example, if you were thinking of taking one player and he's got qualifier next to his name, and that qualifier happens to be Boo, you're going to be thinking again, aren't you? So it's quite unusual for me to do this, because normally the qualifying draw isn't normally stacked with equal or better talent than the main draw is, but it is on this occasion. So I'm just going to look at the matches as far as Almaty is concerned, because I've got 3 matches that I like. But yeah, we're going to revisit this on Tuesday.
Yeah, good strategy that. I mean, these qualifiers are pretty good. It's a very poor draw, and anybody who can go into this draw has got a chance of winning it, especially this time of year as well. Motivation is questionable, so let's concentrate on some matches for now. And there's 3 matches, as Sean said, that he'd like to talk about. The first match he has is Tomas Machac against Timofey Skatov. Machac is a heavy favourite here. He's -$7. Skatov is +450. Spread 5.5, and the total on the low side, 19.5, one of the lowest we see in quick conditions here. -111 is for the over. Machac got to the semi-finals in Shanghai, got beat by Jannik Sinner, played really, really well last week to get that. Beat Alcaraz, didn't he, famously in the quarterfinals, but he's coming from Shanghai here. The travelling won't be ideal for him, and he's up against an opponent who has done okay, done all right in qualifying at the US Open, got beat by Hurkacz in the first round there. But, he's from Kazakhstan. He's just inside the top 200, and he's going to have local support here against a player that probably is not ideally suited by the travelling arrangements he's going to have here.
Yeah, I think this is a crazy price on Machac. It's even shorter than what I saw earlier. I've been out, obviously, the last few hours, so not all the prices were up. This is daft. I mean, Machac is the flavour of the month now, isn't he? After his performances, but how much is he going to want it this week? The reason I say that, he's played 23 sets in 16 days, Machac, in Tokyo and Shanghai. There's a 500, an ATP 500 next week where he's down to play in Vienna, and then a week after that there's a Masters Series in Paris, so which obviously he's going to be playing in as well. Now that he's done so well in Shanghai and Tokyo against the best, he's going to fancy his chances in Vienna and Paris, you would think. So why would he need to put the effort in here in a 250 so soon after he's put all that effort in? I'm not convinced at all. I would suggest that Skatov is highly likely to be the more motivated player here. It's obviously his home tournament. He's from Kazakhstan. And he's had some decent performances against top 100 opponents. He's actually won 4 of his last 8 matches against top 100 ranked opponents. He's beaten Francisco Cerundolo. He's beaten Thomas Martin Etcheverry, Taro Daniel, Talon Griekspoor. All of those were on clay, and he is a bit of a grinder, Skatov. So with this, there is a chance that if Machac turns up, as unlikely as it seems, kind of fresh and really up for this, then there's a chance that Machac could blow him away. But it's an assumption. He's got to start all over again, Machac, in very different conditions from what he's just come from in Shanghai. As I said, there's altitude here. It always takes time for players to get used to altitude. It's not something that you can just slip into and carry on as you were. You need to make some adjustments. Freshness-wise, Skatov's not played at all in those 16 days where Machac played 23 sets. So he should have way more in the tank. He should be much better prepared because he's obviously been here for much longer. He's also playing doubles on Monday, is Skatov, so he'll have even more of a chance to attune himself to the conditions. And he's 2-1 to even win a set. I'm happy to take a chance on that in these circumstances. Machac might prove me wrong. He might turn up here fresh as a daisy and blow him away. But at the odds, I'm happy to take a chance on Skatov here.
Yeah, plus 450 is the price on the money line. A 2-1 to win a set, and the total over.
He's actually 7.5 now
on
the money line.
Wow. So that's moved from the -$7 to plus 450 now.
He's 1.1. Machac's 1.1.
Wow.
Live as I'm looking at it now.
There has been some huge money there for Machac. Is that the right thing? Is it questionable? I mean, we're making the case there why you want to oppose it. I'm looking at the prices, and this match starts at. Let me have a look at this.
This won't be on until at least Tuesday.
Yeah, it'll be Tuesday. But it's minus 10,000, minus 1,000 now. Machac and plus 650 Skatov. Currently on the Bet Rivers website. Head across to there, get the app on. The lines are obviously moving since we've done the graphic earlier in the day, but these are moving markets, and definitely there is a negative for Skatov, the Kazakhstan. Also, there's always whenever there's a negative for people from the Kazakhstan, I always slightly worry about other things as well.
Skatov's not a player I've noticed any peculiar movements around, but I just think this is a crazy price. 1.1 on a player that's played so much tennis and he's got so much still to do.
One match that is a lot closer in the betting is the next match we're going to discuss. It's Christopher O'Connell against Gabriel Diallo. More a specking game, -110, -111. You take your choice. 23.5, a lot higher there than the other match there. This match starts at 1 a.m. Eastern time, we believe, tomorrow. Just head across to the BetRivers website because the order play isn't out yet, but the scheduling is about 1 a.m. tomorrow. Interesting one, this one here. If you look at the records of both players, and they're not really playing the greatest. Christopher O'Connell's having a bad run of form. This is his first indoors match of the whole year as well, surprisingly. He lost his last two matches, the Berrettini in Shanghai. Also lost to Mickelson in Tokyo. I suppose he would have been a decent underdog here, but the manner of the performance wasn't great. And Diallo did all right. He got to the semi-final of the Challenger last week in Hangzhou. Yeah, got beat by McDonald. So there has been a little bit of money for the Canadian, Diallo. I think they're probably right on this sort of market. I expect them to start a clearer favourite.
I would, if I was going on the money line, I would actually favour O'Connell here. Though I'm not going on that particular market. I'm looking at the side markets, and if my assumption is correct that it's going to be reasonably quick, balls flying around at this high altitude, tie breaks look very likely with these two players. Diallo, big server, that's what his game is built around. Last week in Hangzhou, I think he was playing. He won an average of 80% of his first serve points. Played in Shanghai, won just 2 points fewer than Alejandro Davidovich Fokina. Lost a couple of tight sets in that one, but was pretty close. Against Otto at the US Open, he won 77% of his first serve points, and it wasn't particularly quick conditions there. And he beat Otto that day, caused a bit of an upset beating Feast there. And O'Connell is excuse me, is a player whose return game is questionable. I took a look at what O'Connell's done against the players that I have down as big servers in my database. He's played 7 matches on hard courts against them, and 6 of them have featured at least one tiebreak. There's been a set 1 tiebreak in 4 of those 7 matches, and he's only broken serve, O'Connell, 9% of the time, playing huge 0.38 tiebreaks per set. And just generally, even if we take big servers out of the equation, just generally his return game isn't really up to it. I took a look at what he's done against all opponents on surfaces that aren't clay at main level this season. He only wins 33.6% of return points. So this, to me, is one for set 1 overs. I'm just looking at the odds here. Excuse me a sec. Sorry about that. Right. Set 1 overs. Over 10.5 is 2.88. I think I'm going to take a chance on a tiebreak with these two. Over 12.5 is a very, very big 3.95 with Bet Rivers. Opening set tiebreak. As I say, that's coming in 4 of the 7 of O'Connell's matches against big servers. So that's where I'm going with this one. It's going to be tough to break servers, a server like Diallo, in conditions where the ball's flying around all over the place at altitude. So, yeah, that's where I'm going there.
Is that a strategy that we should be doing, like in a lot of the matches at the altitude, thinking that the over 10.5 or the totals could be quite high this week? Is it something that might be on your radar for the whole tournament?
If my assumption is correct, yeah, obviously I'm going to have a look tomorrow and see if that is the case. I mean, it could be the case that they put an extremely slow surface on and they're using extremely slow balls. That's possible. But assuming that it's the same sort of conditions as it was last year, i.e. green set and Wilson balls, it should be lively. So if you've got two guys that can serve big, O'Connell's a pretty decent pace on his serve as well. He's a reasonably big server, and Diallo certainly is. So I've chosen that match as the obvious one for tiebreaks, and it's not, for me, that's not been priced up accurately, unless this service is really slow, which I hope it isn't.
We'll find out. We'll find out tomorrow. But over to 12.5 games or set one tiebreak is the way we are going to play. Our final match sees a friend of Sean's, one of his favourite tennis players of all time, Fabio Fognini. He's going to roll back the years here because he's up against Otto Virtanen. And Otto Virtanen is a very, very heavy favourite. -$2 to get the win over the Italian. +163 for Fognini. 2.5 is the spread. And the total here is 21.5. Sorry, 21.5. Isn't it? 21.5 with under even money and over -137. If we look at the head-to-head, there is nothing to go by there. Neither of them have played before. They've never played each other. But if you look at Virtanen's form coming into it, it's absolutely dreadful. He hasn't won since the first round of the US Open. A run now, 6 consecutive losses. And Fognini, we know what he's like. He's capable of getting a performance out of him, and it could be, this is his swan song this year, and he could have a go at it. But Virtanen, I wouldn't be betting him at -$2 for anyone's money.
50 when I saw this earlier. Virtanen, 1.4 in decimal. I don't get it at all. I really don't. I know it's a quick turnaround for Fabio Fognini, having played the Hangzhou Challenger. Finished there on Friday, but he's not playing here. He's not playing on Monday, so he won't be playing until at least Tuesday. So that's what, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's like 3 or 4 days. You know, it's a 6.5 hour flight from Hangzhou to Almaty, so it's not a million miles away. Yeah, it's a distance, but he did have a medical timeout for a foot or ankle issue there in Hangzhou, but that's nothing new for Fognini these days. It's very rare you see a Fognini match where he doesn't have the trainer out. At this age, he's 37 years of age. So I'm not concerned about that. I mean, Fognini does have this habit of, if he's playing a bigger match the next week, he's not one to be shy of sort of down in tools a bit the week before, especially if it's a challenger. So I wouldn't be worried about that. And as I said, he won't be playing until at least Tuesday. So not that worried about the turnaround either. I mean, Virtanen's got a big game. We know that. I've talked about him before. He's got the sort of game that should take him further than it has so far. But I think the mental side of Virtanen is not good, frankly. It certainly doesn't match the ability that he's got. And as you said, he's lost his last 6 in a row, and he's been bageled twice. That's lost a set 6-love. That's happened twice in 2 of those matches, and he's lost sets either 6-love, 6-1, or 6-2 6 times in those 6 matches. Excuse me. The other thing that concerns me about Virtanen is his control of the ball at altitude. He is a bit of a ball basher. He likes to go for the big serve, big forehand, big strokes, beat you by power. And it could all go wrong at this altitude. You've got to be more controlled when you are playing at this sort of altitude. So I don't like this price at all about Virtanen. I mean, Fognini can play on indoor hard. There's no reason at all that he can't. He made the semi-finals of Metz indoors this time last year. He had a pretty good grass season as well. The other thing is he's won 72% of his career matches at main level versus opponents ranked outside the top 100, and 7 of his last 9. So I can't see where this price comes from. I'm happy to take Fognini here, +163. He was bigger earlier, but yeah, +163, Fabio.
Yep, big price for the Italian. Get on, across the Bet app, get onto the website. Fognini at +165 against a man who is absolutely in no kind of form whatsoever. Let's move on to our second tournament. It's a bumper show. As I said, there's 3 tournaments this weekend, all 250 events. And this one, we're going to go to Stockholm, to the Nordic Open. And if we look at the draw, some decent players in this draw. Again, a little bit better field than what we've just seen there. And let's have a look at the previous winners. Monfils won it in 2023. We've had a whole good Rune win it in 2022. Tommy Paul, Shapovalov, Tsitsipas, Del Potro won it a couple of years as well. So the big names have won this tournament. What are the trends, Sean? What are the weather conditions? What are we expected? And what's the court speed like? It's going to be indoors. Sorry, I don't know what the weather. I don't care what the weather conditions are. It's going to be cold. But what are the trends like here?
I'll see if my voice can hold up. It's not It's not doing too well at the minute. I think I've got another cough coming on or something. This is listed, again, not very helpful from the ATP. It just says hard. Well, yeah, we know that. In recent years, it's been played on a kind of medium-paced plexi-pave indoor hard court that isn't as quick as it used to be here. It used to mimic the conditions of Shanghai years ago, but I don't think they bother with that anymore. And they use, or did use, whether they still do, I don't know, but I assume they will. They're using these Robin Soderling RS balls that the players complain about. Even Mikael Ymer one year, the Swedish player, was saying that they're not fit for a dog to play with. I seem to remember him saying. I think that was his quote. So this is a good example of a tournament doing what I talked about the other day, which is doing whatever they want with the balls. Because there's no jurisdiction. The ATP don't say you must use these balls. They're allowed to do whatever they want. So they're picking these balls that are used in no other tournament on the tour. I think they used to be used in Memphis years ago, but that's not even a tournament anymore. So if they are still using these RS balls, this is the only time of the year they use them. Since it's been on a plexipave, which is since 2021, it averages 79% holds and 71.7% first points won. That's not quick. That's kind of medium at best. Only 37% of the matches have featured a tiebreak in the last 3 editions. There's quite a big trend to the unders in the last 3 editions. I don't know whether that's just a statistical anomaly or not, but 63% of the matches in the last 3 editions have gone under 22.5 total games. We'll see whether that's an ongoing trend or not. Over 10.5 games in set 1, probably not a tournament where I'd be tempted to back that. It's not really quick here. 34% of the matches have gone over 10.5 games in set 1 in the last 3 editions. But it's a good one for underdogs. 44% of the underdogs have won here in the last 3 editions. Now, as far as the trends are concerned, as far as the outright trends are concerned, no top seed has won here since Thomas Burdick won it in 2014 and 2015, so 10 years almost. The last 3 winners were all priced between 16-1 and 33-1. And in the last 5 editions, qualifiers have made 2 finals and another semi-final. So it's not a bad one for qualifiers either. Sorry, mate, the voice is a bit screwy.
No, it's fine. Looking at the people who've won it, they've all been big names, but they're probably at the start of their careers or someone who coming at the back of their careers. Monfils last year was a shot winner. But if you look at the seeds, exactly the same. It's a 250 event where the top 4 get buys through to the last 16. And the top 4 here are Andrei Rublev, Tommy Paul, Dimitrov, and Casper Ruud. Now, they're not in the greatest of form, those 4. There's question marks about all those. So this could be, again, travelling back from Shanghai to Sweden. This could be a potential where you could go further down the list and find some value plays. If we went to the draw, Rublev would play Nakashima, Paul would play Jarry in the top half, Darderi would play Dimitrov, Greek Sport against Ruud. The problem is with the draw, Sean, is that them 4 are the clear best 4 players. Apart from that, it's not really much. Berrettini's in there. You've got Casper. You've got Nakashima, Greek Sport, Kekmanovic. You know, there's not really a huge amount of quality in this draw at all, is there?
No, I mean, if you look at the top guys, Andrei Rublev is struggling after he had that operation on whatever it was after the US Open that he didn't talk about until the Asian swing. Dimitrov has won 1 tournament, I think, in 7 years. 1 tournament in 7 years, Dimitrov, so he's not what you would call a regular winner. And, you know, a lot of these guys have played a lot of tennis. There's also I should also say, there are some good qualifiers here as well. Jacob Fernley's absolutely on fire at the moment, the young British player. He's in the qualifying draw. So is Marc-Andrea Huesler, who's been a little bit quiet in the last sort of year or so, but he's got a very tricky lefty net rushing kind of game, which does lend itself well to indoor hard. Laszlo Djere's in the qualifying draw as well. I'm not sure these qualifiers have been placed yet or not, but yeah, so some decent qualifiers. So that trend that I talked about, you know, where qualifiers have made 2 finals and another semi-final, that could perhaps be one to keep an eye on. Jacob Fernley certainly is a player that's in form, but I've got one in the bottom half of the draw here. I'm taking a player in quarter 4, which is Casper Ruud's quarter. I'm not sold on Casper Ruud this time of the year on indoor hard. It's not really his time of year. And I'm taking Talon Greek Sport at each way at 15-1. Bet Rivers are offering on on talent. I feel like he's due a bit of luck, Greek sport. I mean, some of it is of his own making. You know, he is a bit choky. There's no doubt about that. He should have beaten Alexander Zverev again last week in Shanghai. Also should have beaten him at the French Open. Two huge chances that Greek sport had to beat Zverev and didn't manage to get over the line. But the level of the performance, apart from the finishing it off, was really good. And he's a very effective player on indoor hard. Zverev said after that match, actually, that Greek sport should be top 10, top 15 if he plays like that every week. And there's more chance of him playing like that on indoor hard. These are his best conditions. Grass and indoor hard, the two surfaces that Greek sport goes well on. He made the quarterfinals here last year, then the quarterfinals a week later in Basel. He has got a tough opening round match against Pavel Kotov, who actually beat him here a year ago, and Kotov went on to make the final at a big price. I think he's about 66-1. But he's not been in that sort of form this year, Kotov. It's a match that Greek sport should win. You know, if he does transfer that Shanghai level, where he also beat Jordan Thompson very easily in the first round. That was played indoors, which does show you in a way that Greek sport is at his most effective on indoor hard. Last 12 months on indoor hard, Greek sport 67% win rate, service points won and return points won, total of 101, 89% holds or serve. These are all better stats than he produces on outdoor hard. So he's a player to look at when the tour does go indoors. So yeah, I'm going to take him at 15-1 each way here.
Yeah, 15-1 up against Kotov. But that match will probably not be tomorrow. That'll probably be Tuesday morning. So you've got plenty of time. But do remember that as soon as the matches start tomorrow, the outright market will be suspended. And as you can see there, Rublev dominates the market plus 250, Dimitrov 325, Tommy Paul 4, Berrettini 5, Rude 8, Nakashima 16, and there is our man Talon Griekspoor at 15-1. And we're going to go each way on him there. You do have some matches you're interested in. Stanislas Wawrinka is the one we're going to start with against Brandon Nakashima. Called it perfectly last week on the Wawrinka match, winning the first set, and then obviously faded away. He's up against Nakashima, who's played an awful lot of tennis, and Wawrinka holds a 2-0 head-to-head winning record. I know one of them was in 2022 in Basel indoors, and I know there was one in Cincinnati in 2023. So he's obviously 2 years older than since the first time they met. But he's got the head-to-head record, and Nakashima must be exhausted again. So are we going to go the same strategy again? Wawrinka to win the first set and then fade away? Or come at something fresh?
Why not? I mean, this is a good strategy, I think. I'm just looking at the odds here because some of the side markets aren't quite up yet. So just bear with me 1 second. Okay, I've got it, yeah. Yes, I mean, it could be another chance, as you say, for Stan to start well. 5 of his last 10 matches have gone to a set 1 tiebreak, and he's actually held serve. As you said, he's played a couple of times against Nakashima. He's held serve 94% of the time against Nakashima. He's also won 60% of second serve points in this matchup, and he leads the service points won and return points won totals by 103-97. As you said, they were perhaps a year or two ago. Not overly relevant, but it certainly won't do Wawrinka's confidence any harm to know that he's performed extremely well against this particular opponent. The caveat on those stats is that Stan was, in those 2 meetings, Stan was much better on the big points, converted 63% of his breakpoint chances compared to just 14% for Nakashima. That trend is not going to continue, you wouldn't have thought. But Stan, again, very unlucky, I thought, against Kaboli last week in Shanghai. It was the match, I don't know whether you saw it, you've probably seen it on highlights since, where the umpire called the wrong score. I think it was Carlos Bernardes, if I remember rightly. And he gave Kaboli a point that he shouldn't have had, and that he ended up breaking in that match. And it was the only break of the entire match. 3 sets, 1 break of serve, which goes to show you how well Wawrinka is serving at the minute. Just isn't able physically at his age to grind out long matches, 3-set wins against these younger guys. The level that Wawrinka's been playing last 10 matches is kind of okay. Service points won and return points won total of 98. But 89% holds of serve, which is actually more than Nakashima. Nakashima's held 87% of the time and got a 102 total in his last 10 matches. So not a huge gulf in it. The point is that Stan's been playing well, but he's not able to keep it up. He's able to keep it up for a set, maybe 2, not really 3. He gets a bit jaded. But Nakashima himself has looked very, very tired indeed in his last 2 matches. Really tired. I mean, last week lost to Watanuki, I think, didn't he, in Shanghai. We'll see what he's got left. You know, he has played a ton of tennis, Nakashima, from the end of the grass season to now. He has played an awful lot of tennis, and you've got to wonder what he has got left. The motivation for Stan, obviously, he's getting wild cards. You know, these aren't going to continue. Is this his last season? Also, his coach, Magnus Norman, is Swedish. So I would expect Stan to be motivated for this for a couple of reasons. This could be one of the last matches of his career. We don't know yet, but quite possibly. So I think the odds of 2.75 plus 175 about Stan winning the first set, again, they're worth taking. I know it's a kind of a repeat of what I've done in previous weeks, but it has been successful. And I see, given the matchup, Nakashima doesn't break much, Stan's holding an awful lot of time, 90% of the time. It gives him a chance to at least get to a tiebreak, and from there, it's up for grabs.
Yep, I like that play. Very successful for us last week. Wawrinka to win set number 1, plus 175. Definitely, at his age, the old legs don't keep going. I know how he feels the last couple of days. Let's move on to our next match. Elias Ymer up against Nicolas Jarry. Jarry's a heavy favourite here, minus 215 against the Swede Ymer, who is plus 165. Spread 3.5, total 22.5. These two players have met once before in the Davis Cup in 2023, and it's very, very easy for Jarry. I mean, Jarry's king of altitude. I don't know if he's. I won't be rushing to take him here on this kind of surface where he hasn't played indoors again this year. And Ymer has played 7 matches indoors, including some big wins as well along the way in the Davis Cup. So he's used to this kind of situation. He's got his home crowd in front of him, and I like taking the Ymer when if he plays in Sweden. And plus 165 against Jarry, I think, might look a nice play here.
Yeah, we took him last year, didn't we, to beat Roberto Bautista Agut in the first round, and he won pretty handily actually there. Ymer made the quarterfinals here last year. Did Elias Ymer, and Jarry still looks miles away from his best after these vestibular issues that he's had. That's the inner ear infection, which affects your balance and it causes dizziness and all this sort of stuff. I know it quite well because it's something that Natasha suffers from, and it sort of comes and goes. But if we look at the stats of what Nicolas Jarry has done since making the final in Rome, he's won 1 match, which was fortunate, by the way. It was a kind of an implosion from Lucas Klein in the last game of the match where he sort of tossed his serve away to Love. That's the only match that he's won out of 11 matches since Rome. So he's 1-10 win-loss. And his service points won and return points won total on those 11 matches is 88, which is miles away from the level that he was playing before he picked up this condition. We know he's a big server. He's only held serve 76% of the time in those matches. And his returning's been all over the place as well. He's only won 26% of return points, which is dreadful. And only 45% on second serve. He was absolutely blown away by Yibing Wu last week in Shanghai. I think it was 2-1 in the end. It just doesn't look like he's over this condition, or if he is over it, it's maybe one that's kind of recurring. So it could be an opportunity for what is what should be a highly motivated Ymer. He's got a patchy record at this tournament. He's had a lot of first round losses, and he got a little bit lucky last year. We didn't get lucky, but he did because he was playing a returning Bautista Agut who'd hardly played at all after his peculiar injury involving a horse. So he got a little bit lucky. He could have got lucky. It may be the case that he's got lucky again this year playing against a Jarry who is miles away, as I say, from his best tennis. The only slight issue I've got is I don't really trust Ymer. I'm not a big fan, in all honesty. And he was a plus 217, 3.17 chance in decimal when he met Jarry in Davis Cup indoors in Bologna last year. Now he's a fair bit shorter than that. But if you don't mind taking that slightly shorter price, I mean, I would definitely take a chance on Ymer. I'm just maybe being a bit greedy on the price. I just feel like he should be a bigger price to win this match, but that's also because of the situation that Nicolas Jarry's in at the moment.
It was also factored in home advantage there with the slight different of the price. If you look at that, think how much is that sort of
possibly, yeah.
What percentage have you got that? So yeah, that gives it a little bit more in his favour there. But Ymer is being bet plus 165 is the price, and it is being bet. And I think you won't get much bigger than that. Plus 165.
I think he's actually down to 2.4 now on the live page.
There you go, 1.4. So I mean, this is a moving market, and Ymer is definitely the one that the money is definitely coming for. And Jarry, we have he's got some problems. So let's move. We've got one more tournament, haven't we? We've got another tournament. We've got Antwerp. You have to recap everything at the end here, Sean, and what we've gone through. But there's quite a lot to go through here with these three tournaments. I don't like the weeks with these three tournaments.
No,
I've
I
been
don't.
back on European servers, three tournaments.
Nothing worse than a 3-week tournament, apart from a 4-week tournament, of course.
We had one of them earlier.
We had one of them because the Olympics, yeah.
Exactly. So now we're in Antwerp, the final 250 of the week of the show, and we'll give you some previous winners here. Bublik is the defending champion 2023. Auger Elias Sim won it before. Sinner, Humbert, and Andy Murray have won it in the last 4 or 5 years. There is exactly the same scenario again. The top 4 seeds get biased through to the last 16. The top 4 seeds this time around are Alex de Minaur, who's making his return to the tour, Felix Auger-Aliassime, Sebastian Baez, and Stefanos Tsitsipas, who's in absolutely shocking form at the moment. So again, big question marks over those 4 seeds. What are conditions like here, Sean? Is this? Do we know a little bit more information about Antwerp? Has the Antwerp organisation been a little bit more open?
No. I don't think it's the tournament. I think it's the ATP. They're just, since they've changed this style of draw to this horrible style where the letters are so tiny that you can't really read them. They've seemed to have just missed out the vital parts of information, i.e., what service is this being played on? Hard it's not really doing it for me. I was there last year at Antwerp, and it was a decent paced indoor hardcore. It's a green set, unless they've changed it. And it did seem quicker last year than in previous years, but it averages 81% holds and 73% first serve points won. That makes it a decent amount quicker than the one we just talked about in Stockholm. 44% of the matches feature a tie break. Not really much to say about over-unders. Slight trend to the unders, 52% in the last 4 editions. Over 10.5 games in set 1, again, nothing to get too excited about. 35%. In the last 4 editions, decent paced indoor hardcourt. And underdog winners, again, pretty decent, 35%, but 39% in round 1 alone. So that's something that obviously always interests me. As far as the trends are concerned, 7 of the 8 champions here have been priced between 100 to 30 and 12 to 1. The only exception being Humbert, who won at 20 to 1. So not many big price winners. And 7 of the 8 runners-up have been priced between 7 to 1 and 20 to 1 as well. So it's not a tournament that has really produced many big price winners and big priced runners-up. Only Diego Schwartzman, when he was 150 to 1 in 2016, has made the final here at bigger odds than 20 to 1. Again, qualifiers have done okay. They've made either the quarterfinals or the semi-finals in 7 of the 8 editions.
Yep. There's no surprise with the trends here. I think we mentioned at the end of the last season. We come to this time of year, the underdogs do pick up their chances, and the motivation for the top players questionable. There is motivation here though, because de Minaur's coming back. Felix Auger-Aliassime wants to end here on the high set. Tsitsipas needs something, but have they got it in them at this time of the season to turn it around? This is the draw, the schedule. De Minaur is in the top. He'll play Navone if it goes to the seed. It's a number 7 seed. Auger-Aliassime will play Etcheverry. That's the top half of the draw. Giron will play Baez, and Lehecka will play Tsitsipas. Obviously, there's some dangerous opponents in there. And Petchy Perregard is in there. He could play Tsitsipas in round 2 if the French beats the qualifier. Fucsovic is there, always dangerous on this kind of event. And apart from that, not really meant much else, but where are we going to go here? What are we going to look for? These are the odds. De Minaur's 4 to 1, Tsitsipas is 450, Felix Auger-Aliassime 5, Lehecka 7, Batista got 14, Zizou Berg's 14, Etcheverry 14, and Petchy Perregard 14, and 20 to 1 bar then. Marcus Giron looks stands out to me. A big price there, 22 to 1. It's the first player I've looked at. I thought that's a big price, but anyway, what do you think?
I'm going to take a chance on my old friend Felix Auger-Aliassime here.
Interesting.
It's not normally my sort of bet, but he really should be winning this tournament. He's got plenty of gas, or he should have plenty of gas left in the tank. He's only played 53 matches this season, and he's already said that he won't play Davis Cup, even though Canada are in the finals. He's off to Togo to do humanitarian work there in November. It's quite a big quite a big statement from him. He could have gone and played Davis Cup. You would have expected him to, probably. But he's not. He's chosen to go to Togo to do this work. So obviously he's only going to be playing for another few weeks. I mean, I said he's only played 53 matches this season. Just for some context, he played 87 in 2022, which is that year, excuse me, when he went on that great run on indoor hard. He was winning everything, wasn't he, indoors? And this is where he plays his best tennis. Last 12 months on indoor hard, Felix, 77% win rate, a service points won and return points won total of 106, and a service hold and break total of 109. 88% holds of serve, 78% first serve points won. He's an absolute beast on indoor hard. And he should be winning this tournament, looking at the draw. I mean, de Minaur is the obvious danger, but Felix has won both of their matches that they played against each other on indoor hard. And also de Minaur has hardly played since Wimbledon. He only played the US Open due to this hip injury, which seems to be still ongoing. So you would imagine that he's not going to be at his best. He was withdrawn from several events since the US Open due to this hip problem. So he's a fade for me this week. Fucsovic, I think, is quite interesting. I think Felix will play Fucsovic in the second or third round. He's always a danger for me, Fucsovic, but he's not been fit really since he won Bucharest in April a long time ago with back problems. He's the only other interesting one that I thought, looking at the odds, would be some sort of value, but it's a hell of a risk given his fitness. So I mean, a straight win, Felix. He's got the draw and the stats and the capability indoors to win this.
Yep. The action starts tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. So a little bit later, so you've got plenty of time to get across to the Bet Rivers website. And if you're Canadian and you want to bet your man, he's 5-1, Felix Auger-Aliassime. Very unlike Sean Calvert to go for someone in that single price in the outright market. So it's a tip in itself that he's gone for Felix. And obviously, he does well on this surface, but he also does well this time of year. In seasons well, when most of his wins have come at the end of the season, particularly that couple of years ago when he went on that unbelievable red hot burner. There's one match you're interested in: Otto Rinderknech against Alexander Blockx. Rinderknech is the heavy favourite, -177. Blockx is +140. The spread 2.5, and the total here is 22.5 with over -122, under -105. They've never met previously, but they've both had a good year. I mean, there's a lot of players here who haven't really played on indoor surfaces yet this year, and it's their first competition or their first opportunity. These two have played a lot of tennis. Rinderknech is 9-4 indoors, and Alexander Block is 12-8. And Block just recently got to the semi-final of the Orleans Challenger, where he got beat by that man in form, Fernley. Rinderknech is travelling from Shanghai, where he got beat by Tabilo after beating Opelka in the opening round. Prior to that, not in great form was Rinderknech. What do you think of this one?
I saw Blockx play here last year at Antwerp. He was one of the matches that I saw. He played against Yannick Hanfmann. He's another good young talent from Belgium, along with the more obvious ones, Zizou Bergs, who's a few years older and has come through a little bit more. But Blockx is a very, very good player. As I said, I watched him against Hanfmann last year. Lacked a bit of experience, and I think he lost it 6-4, 7-6 that match. It was pretty tight, but he's got some good weapons. Blockx. I like his forehand a lot. That was a year ago. Last month he took a set off Berrettini on indoor hard in the Davis Cup. Only lost that match right at the end. I think it was 7-5 in the third. He kind of just succumbed to a bit of scoreboard pressure at the end there. Very close against Berrettini. As you said, made the semi-finals of the Orleans Challenge in his last outing. Beat Shapovalov that week. Beat Denis Shapovalov and then lost to Fernley, and he had a bit of an abdominal issue in that match against Fernley, so possibly not fully fit. And he's not played since, obviously saving himself for this home tournament. He's going to be highly motivated. Rinderknech's last 10 main level matches on indoor hard, that's on the ATP Tour level, main level, 3-7 win-loss, and a service points won and return points won total of 97. He's only broken serve 10.7% of the time in those 10 matches, Rinderknech. So the return game indoors leaves a bit to be desired. I think if you're betting in this one, the way to go would be either, if you're feeling brave, just back Blockx +140, or the over 22.5 games. That looks highly likely to come in, given the motivation factor of Blockx and the big serving and weak returning of of Rinderknech. So that's where I would go there, either overs or take a chance on blocks.
Very good. Pick me up on my mistake of Orleans. I say Orleans.
I say Orleans, but I might be wrong. I'm not.
Well,
I'm not an
sure
expert.
you're right. I'm sure I'm not going to. You're the man on that kind of stuff. I can guarantee that you'll be right more than me. So that's it. I mean, that is a bumper show there. There's a lot of action to get through. There's a lot of stats. There's a lot of matches to talk about there, and we're going to give you a little recap of what we've got. So, Sean, it's probably best to just run through each tournament actually and just tell us exactly where you're heading and what you like.
Okay, I've got Antwerp open, so I might as well do that quickly. There's only one bet here, and that's the outright. Felix Auger Elias, who's about, what is he, 4 or 5 to 1?
$5, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so him to win that particular tournament. And then if we go to Stockholm, let me just open this. Okay, so the bet I'm going to take is Stan Wawrinka to win the opening set against Brandon Nakashima. That's going to be about 2.75 plus 175 for him to win the opening set there. And the outright is the only other bet there in Stockholm, which is Talon Greek Sport to win the tournament. Back him each way at 15 to 1 with Bet Rivers. Yep. And if we go back to Almaty, I'm not going to do the outright yet. As I said, I'm going to come back to that because of the strength of the qualifying draw. But the matches are going to take Skatov, Timofey Skatov, to win any set against Tomas Machac. That's 2 to 1 chance, that is, with Bet Rivers. And I'm also going to take set 1 tiebreak between O'Connell and Diallo, which I think was 3.95 plus 295 of Bet Rivers, set 1 tiebreak there. And my old mate Fabio Fognini, plus 163, I think he was, to beat Virtanen's terrible price on Virtanen. That. So those are the official plays.
It's a lot of plays, a lot of action, and the action starts tomorrow morning. Make sure you head across to the Bet Rivers website. Most of our matches will start the following day, so they'll be on Tuesday. But if you're betting on the outright markets, you're taking them, you've got to be on nice and early. Head across to the web to get to the website or the app. There is about 29 different markets available on each of these matches. And remember, if you do have a bet on one of the markets that we offer, or the one of the markets or the bets that Sean has offered, you can bet live and watch live with Bet Rivers on the app. Game bet match is minus 745 for the year so far, but we've got a month or so to get back into profit, which I'm sure we will do. And the WTA show is minus 2.81, but the football boys are doing pretty well. The English Premier League started off fast, plus 6.91 units, and the extra time show from the European guys is plus 10.41, and they will be back this week after the international break to give the best bets across all the soccer action. Remember, 11 o'clock Eastern time, Monday to Friday, Betting Weekly live. One of the handicappers from the Because We Win team will be live, giving you the best bets on the day on the soccer and also on the tennis or whatever sports that we take your fancy on. And also we'll be getting the best bets on that day from the Bet Rivers trading room as well, see where the sharp money is going. Sean, we got through it. It was a long one. I coughing and I'm being not very great, but we got through it. We've done another. We got through the week.
My voice is a bit dodgy at the minute.
Well, rest up. Hopefully you're not going down with what I had over the last 48 hours or so. But
hopefully not.
Hopefully you'll be okay. And we will be back. Now, I can say this with confidence now. We will be back on Tuesday on the latest edition of Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. And we're back to normal now with the schedule. So make sure you download the podcast, Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Betting Weekly Studios. And follow us on our socials at Because We Win. Thank you very much for your time, Sean, on this
Pleasure.
Sunday evening. Thank you very much for watching. Please download the podcast and please like this show on the YouTube channel as well. Give us a like. That's what we like to hear. And give us a comment. Take care.